This is Jose Rigsby, Technology Editor for Nearshore Americas. I'm here with Beni Lopez, Chief Globalization Officer for SoftTech. So one of the things that I understand about your organization that I didn't know before this week is that you guys actually coined the term nearshore in the late 90s. Is that reality, or is that...
Oh, it is true.
Okay.
We have it registered.
Okay.
We registered in 1996, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And so the term just kind of took off from there?
It took off from there. I mean, we'd been in existence since 1982. And we started in Mexico, and then we grew into South America initially, Europe. Even before coming to the US, we went to Europe. And then we wanted to also have access to the American market, of course, being the largest. And we decided that the way we do that is by competing, but not quite directly, with the offshore model. We figured there would be different options for buyers back then to have an alternative model where, they can have some of the benefits of the offshore model without some of the hurdles that come with it around time zone, around the long hauls, around communication, around cultural differences. So based on our very strong engineering background, process engineering that is, we decided we'd compete on the basis of process-driven solutions, but we decided to market it as the nearshore alternative.
So you mentioned that you guys started in Mexico. So you guys have 8 centers in Latin America, with 5 being in Mexico. That's correct?
We have 4 in Mexico.
4 in Mexico?
4 in Mexico, 2 in China, 1 in Brazil, 1 in Argentina, 1 in Spain. And although we still don't call them global delivery centers because they have to meet certain levels of processes and standard and scale, we also have delivery capabilities for the US in Costa Rica and in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. So why did you guys decide to place the largest concentration of offices in Mexico?
Oh, because it's natural. Today, the US represents 40% of our total business. And the natural off-site option for the US market is Mexico because of proximity. I mean, we have been neighbors for a long time. We're the 3rd largest trading partner of the US, so there's 300 billion plus worth of trade going back and forth. So all the infrastructure is there, all the legal infrastructure, all the telecommunication infrastructure. There are more flights from Houston to different cities in Mexico than any other city in Mexico apart from Mexico City. So the level of interaction and trade that goes back and forth between US and Mexico makes it very similar. So the fit was natural. Plus, the language is there. In my experience, and I've helped open offices in different regions in South America, the further south you go from the border with Mexico, the less percentage-wise of English-speaking professionals you will find. So all that proximity in many different dimensions is what made it natural. It made sense.
So one of the things that companies that are new to outsourcing do is that they'll compare nearshore firms to offshore firms on the basis of raw rate, not total cost of ownership. Why is that generally considered not the best practice? Why do they need to consider TCO, and what are the other factors that go into that calculation other than rate? Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. I think we've always believed that it's a wrong approach to compare the cost element of that. Number one, because there are inefficiencies natural to working off-site in segregated teams. And the further away they are, both in terms of geography as well as in time zone, the less productive they become, and the additional overhead is required. So the simplest way to see it is the number or the percentage of work that is actually done in the lower cost location is higher in a nearshore environment as opposed to in an offshore environment. So that offsets whatever rate differential there may be or unit cost there may be in the nearshore location compared to offshore. So in a typical example, in an offshore engagement, 30% of the work or more will be done on-site at US costs, and 60 to 70% of the work will be done in, say, India, at an India cost. Compared to an engagement with us in Mexico, we start at 85% of the work is done in Mexico, in the lower cost location, and only 15% of the work is being done on site. And that's where we start. We typically then go up. And the only reason you can do that is because you can. Because it's no different working for a project. We're in New York right now, well, New Jersey, really, but if we have a project right now in New York, it's no different if they were interacting with the development team in Dallas or Tampa than it is interacting with the development team in Monterrey or Aguascalientes.
Yeah.
Similarly, a client working in San Francisco in the Bay Area experienced exactly the same working with our team in Baja in Mexico as if they were working with a team in Phoenix. So it's that ability of really collaborating that enhances the total productivity of the team, starting with the percentage of work that is being done remotely, and then all the other overhead that is not required as much as when you work in a very distant place. By the way, we have a white paper around total cost of engagement in our website that people can download, and we have over tested it, and it always comes just as effective or more cost effective than offshore.
Great. And what's your website address?
Softek.com. That's 2 T's and a K. SOFTTEK.com.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you today, since I made you mess up at the end. It was great talking to you. Thanks for taking time to speak with us. All right. Thank you so much.